Hello, hello, hello. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at a game between Firouzja as well as Najer. And Einstein is going to cheer me on as we do it. So he is always sleeping. And I don't know how he survived out in the wild before we adopted him, because he is just a cuddly waddly. I don't think he could kill anything, couldn't you? No, you couldn't. You couldn't hurt a fly. You couldn't hurt a fly. Oh, Billy scratching time. It's Billy scratching time. Okay, all right. Enough of that. Even my cat's like, come on, man, get to the video. All right, let's take a look at it. So, this is a critical position, one of two I'd like to preface this with before I get into the game itself. So in this position, this Super GM messed it up with this move. Can you believe it? Super GMs mess up sometimes. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that just like nuts to wrap your mind around? Well, here's the thing. Super GMs, I've been looking at it this way recently because I've been trying to understand, like, how do they ever mess up, right? And basically, like, super GMs are like 2,700 to like 2,800, and computers are like 3,500. So any instance of mistake, is they're gonna pick up on it. Computers are gonna pick up on it, and I'm gonna be able to talk about it. So they do mess up, and this was one of those such mistakes. Here's Queen to F1. What he should have done was the move Rook to B2 here, when it's very complicated but possible to hold a draw here. Holy guacamole, that's quite a bit to chew on. Another moment here that I spent quite a bit of time trying to understand was this moment right here. There's a lot of tension going on in the center and a lot of different things happening right here. And it's not as innocuous. I threw like a D in there. Innocuous. It's not as benign as it looks. You ever try a fancy word and then you're just like, you just give up and you're like, oh, just go back to simple words. I do that a lot. I do that so much, too much. It's becoming ridiculous, is what it is. No, I got this. So here we go. At this moment here, they've reached a position that's never been reached before. Ha! I kid. I just joke. Knight of 3 here, and so now we're playing the Petrov. So the idea with this one here oftentimes is to sort of get like an even Steven game early on, since the main line would run like this. You go here, takes, and then let me just double check this with the database, because I know it's decently well, but let's just make sure I know what I'm talking about here. There, knight takes e4, d4, d5. And so actually planning on moving this twice, essentially, when this is a pretty balanced game with a very high draw percentage, actually. And of course, for Najer, this would be a great result to have a draw against one of the top players in the world, Firouzja, at nearly 2,800. So I would imagine that basically part of his intention here is to actually get a draw with this move here, knight to f6, possibly creating like an even Steven game. Firouzja has another idea in mind. He says, nope, I'm going to play some sideline stuff. And then after right here, he goes even more sideline after here, and then he takes this way. We're now in a relatively novel position. This position is much, much more scarce, and let's see what happens here next. So he's just playing sideline stuff, trying to get a win against a player who's about 150 points lower rated than he is. So he goes like this, and then here, so just developing pieces, getting our guys in, pawn c3, looking to maybe stop d4, just kind of locking down on this d4 square. c3 goes like this, knight c6, we're going to get castled, bishop to g4, queen d7, h3, kicking away the bishop. And then we're going to get another piece out. On d2, it's kind of meek. It's like, well, you generally don't want to move the same piece twice in the opening, but given the really pretty passive position of this bishop, it would definitely make a lot of sense to move it twice. And after here, we're going to break the pin like this. But not only are we breaking this pin, but we're turning it around. We're turning the tables now on black, because essentially this was a pin, right? Previously, we couldn't really move it without losing the queen. Now it's just the other way around completely, because we're threatening to do a discovered attack. After castles, queen to d2, saying, yeah, you know what, I'm going to move here in a second, but I'm not right away, because I don't want you to take this, then be attacking my queen. So queen to d2 was played. And then I looked this up quite a bit. In this position, this was actually reached in 2019 between Wesley So and Yang Yi Yu. Another couple of super strong players like Super GM level, and in that game, Black had messed this up again. So this is actually the second time Super GM has messed this up in this position and gone with the pretty natural looking bishop here to G6, sidestepping this whole discovered attack. Now, there's definitely some merit to this idea of going bishop G6, which intends to go bishop to E4 in a minute, applying some pressure right here and anticipating this knight's going to come in and all that. But basically, and this is a tough call, basically Black should be like, go for it. If you want to go for this right here, tell you what, that's fine. Boom. And then this move. And then I looked and I figured out, I was trying to figure out why is this technically not as good. And there's this line, this is nuts. This is totally nuts. Basically, there's this situation where if they move the other rook over, if they don't use this one, but they use this one right here, they're going to have less ability to control the F file if their F pawn advances. So I spent a solid 10 minutes trying to understand this. Essentially, there is a situation where White is going to end up sacrificing the exchange, and he's going to need to have the support on E4. On F5 here, because we're going to go like this, and then if the rook isn't still protecting right here, then we end up getting this F5 square. Just nuts. I mean, like 13 moves out. It's really nuts. Where did I put that one? It's like something like this. Ah, yes. Oh my gosh, just by luck of the draw, I found it. Okay, this is it. This is why you want the rook actually right here, because in this situation, you want to be able to take with the rook, so you're still guarding this guy here. Move 26. So and then move 27 right here. So there's a situation 13 moves from now where if White were to sacrifice the exchange, it would be desirable for Black to have the rook right here, which is why you don't want to move this rook, you want to move this rook. So pretty simple, straightforward, nothing complicated about it. Stuff. No, kidding, obviously. That's pretty bananas. You can also go H6. So rather than go and bring the rook in, you can also go right here, which at first glance maybe looks a bit odd. Like, why? What's the point of this right here? That has nothing to do with this upcoming discovered attack, right? Well, the thing is, this bishop is supposed to go to E4, where it's planted there pretty nicely, and then can also flex between these different squares, and then wreak some havoc and cause a lot of annoyance for White, as well as offer some protection of like squares like D5 and whatnot. To jettison this, White's going to need to go here and attack this guy. So the move H6 is possible here. So is Rook A to E8. But this move right here, which looks pretty natural, is not actually the right plan here. It's the right. The thing is, it's the right plan to move the bishop here and then to E4, but you just can't do it yet. I mean, how crazy is that? That is nuts. I mean, I can definitely understand why they would mess that up. Okay. So right here, bishop to E4, and this was the same mistake that other player made in 2019, is that they went in like this right here, when in fact they should kind of bail on that plan for a second and protect the D pawn using this move, right? So he's got a battery, and there's only one defender, so you got to bring in another defender, and you got to choose is it the bishop or the rook? This is the right idea, just not right now. It's sometimes you can have the right idea but the wrong timing, and that can make all the difference. Knight to G5. Saying, yep, I'm gonna take your bishop right here. Look out, takes, and then pawn to D4. In the other game, we actually saw this move played instead, pawn to H6, and then after this, the game continued as follows. This, I believe, was, if not the exact game, something close to it. That doesn't look quite right. It was something like this, but my point is that, yeah, okay, hold on, I have it right here. Check this out. Okay, view. I know what I'm doing. I promise. Maybe. Wink, wink, wink. Okay, I got this. Here we go. This one. This one right here. Should I do a do-over? Should I restart the recording? Oh my goodness, there's so much pressure to just make it perfect all the time. I have to make it perfect. No, you can't nail it all the time. You gotta roll with the punches. That's my motto. Do a decent job, and then excuse yourself with charming banter. That's what I do. So here we go. So anyway, bishop here to E4, and then this way, and then like I said, after here and here, pawn to D4 was the move played in this game. However, in the other game, 2019, Yang Yi Yu had played H6 here, and then after this move, then D4, C takes, and then this guy comes over. And as you can see, like this battle is really unfolding in like this interesting way. Like there's battles happening in all parts of the board right here. And then, like I said, White went on to win this game due to a similar sort of misunderstanding about what to do in that critical position. So interesting stuff. So as I said, the correct approach here would actually be to just bring this rook over and allow for White to do this. Okay, well, let's take a look at what that would look like. Rook a to e8, pawn a3. Now you might be thinking, like, what's the point of this move? I'll tell you what the point is. Because Black is supposed to be going for like b4 to skewer the queen and rook to get the exchange back. Super simple stuff. Super simple stuff. Yeah. In anticipation of this discovered attack, Black is supposed to find the idea of like, oh no, well, I'm going to use this bishop and do a skewer. And so White should preemptively guard against this. Nuts. Just nuts. Nuts. Okay, so had he found this move, then here, now you do this move. Right here, when now, obviously you can't do this any longer. And then rook a to d1, and you got like an extra move in there, which is going to make a pretty crucial difference. Right here, there, this way, and then now queen to g6, mustering up some nice little counterplay here. Then pawn to f3, this comes on over this way. Here, bishop to g4, and now f5, like I was referring to earlier, takes, and then it's going to come back this away when now it's still a balanced game. So really crazy stuff. So that goes to show, I mean, like, just because your opponent has a scary looming threat doesn't mean you need to immediately guard against it. Sometimes you want to just ignore it, get developed, and pursue some counterattacking ideas. So what exactly do I mean by this, right? The whole bishop to b4 thing? Well, I will tell you. This is here, right? Essentially, what he should be going for right now after bishop to, after this right here, is to go with, like this move, right? And then if here, then we go here takes, get this, taking out the bishop, trading the knight for the bishop, right? Okay, and then after here takes, you take back with the b pawn. Here's where I was talking about that skewer. You can't go this way because of here, right? Then you get the skewer and you win the rook for the bishop there. And so you go this way, forced, right? And now Black goes, no, I insist. I really want this skewer. See, this is why you want the pawn on a3. So then White goes this way, guarding b3, and then this would be a balanced game. And then check this out, pow. It's getting a little bit of a fork, for which White can only defend it with this move, countering this and defending both pieces, right? Well, now in the game here, White's actually going to get a nice advantage because Black has not leveraged this really resourceful tactical defense. He's going to go in like this, bishop here to e4, knight to g5, attacking this before Black has the chance to short up with right here. Pawn to d4 was played, not as effective without the potential for this skewer. Bishop comes back to f1. So I think what happened is that probably Firouzja remembered this game that was played back in 2019 and was probably going to be more familiar with the move played in that game, again, in which he went h6. And my theory is bolstered by the fact that after Black diverged from that game, then he returned the favor and made a teensy-tiny bit of a mistake himself. Went back like this, attacking the bishop, right? Well, it was better actually to go pawn to f4. h6, and you go back like this. I mean, we're talking about teensy-tiny, like, fractions of a pawn here, but it interests me, and I get excited about it, and that's why I'm covering it anyway. And then I got this long line, because, like, the computer just does this. Like, it just produces, like, a long line, and I figure, like, when I study my own games, it's interesting to kind of see this stuff, where you get to see, like, an extended version of what's supposed to happen. So that is why I do all that. Plus, movement is nice for people who are like, I don't see anything moving. I need to see movement, or I'm out. So, thinking of you guys. So is Einstein. Scratch. Okay, so then, after right here, then we go like this. So king here to h8, and then looking to maybe like avoid some possibilities like this bishop going here, check. Pawn to f3, pawn a6. It looks like it may have been better in this situation to go with d3. Mustering up some counterplay, locking out the rook. Awkward position for this bishop, but really awkward for both players. Not really just one or the other, because now like this rook can't really move this way or this way. So crazy stuff. Like a lot of these are just like tough calls to make. This way, and then you go like this. And then in a lot of these lines, you reach these like really rich, interesting possible end games. This is a rook end game. The game actually ends with a rook end game too, so that really comes up later. All right, Firouzja is in a pretty dominant position. This is quite favorable here for white, who has a lot of play on these center pawns. This bishop is taking a trip down to Funky Town, and it is really weird looking over here. But the queen is like, got you, man. Got you, bud. It's ban. It was like a mix between bud and man. Ban. Got you, ban. Got you, bud, man. And Bishop's like, I hope so, because have you been drinking tonight? That was you slurring your words, bud. I don't know if you got this or not. No, if the rook takes, then the queen can obviously go right here. And so this is just what black is doing. He's pestering white's position with this bishop right here, which again was the right idea with this move. Like both players understood that you want to use this bishop in this kind of a way. It's just that timing was important. Crazy. All right, there, and then after right here, black makes this move, and he is now objectively losing. What he should have done to put up a little better fight right here is maybe this move. It makes a difference like a half a pawn. Just go right here, keep this guy right here. And so kind of we're seeing a theme of like this bishop has really been through the awkward, ringer, like between being subjected to this discovered attack and then also just being defended from afar. It's tempting to like resolve this right away, but doing so is actually not the best approach. So it goes right here. The rook's no longer attacking it. Rook takes on d4, queen b6, rook d1. Now we have returned to the game. King to h2. Another kind of prophylaxis type of a move, which is actually imprecise by a relatively significant margin. Better here would be to just gain space and say, I know you got this, whatever, I don't care, go for it. Bishop here, now rook d2, and you just say like, yep, I don't mind, because this pin eventually gets neutralized. The king actually wants to be a little bit closer to the center in anticipation of the end game coming up, and so this would be actually a better way to go about it. And then if he's got this, and he's got this free pawn, right? Okay, so then in the game he goes like this, and then we see this move happening right over here. Pretty similar to what happened in the game. I mean, it's exactly the same thing, but the king is here instead of having the potential to go here to f2. Pawn b5, rook to d6, and then after a couple of errors like this move and the king move, black has some drawing chances. It's now, a situation of 2-on-2 and 3-on-3, so things have returned back to even. Better for white here to maintain some winning chance would be this move, pawn here to h4. And then if now black were to take, now we can go here and use this kind of faulty king move to our benefit, because now we can knock out this guy. The pawns have been split, and we have some chances to knock these guys out later. Okay, so after h4, if you had done this, now here you take out this way, and you still have split up these pawns, and that's going to give you some chance to attack these guys. In the game, he misses this, goes for right here and with the immediate attack on this guy, and then we see rook takes e5, and then smash, and then here, excuse me, after right here, rook to c5, rook b6, and then believe it or not, this position is a draw. Objectively speaking, if you're a 3500 computer, if you're a human being, maybe not, All right here, pawn to a6, and then here. So even with this outside pass pawn, with best play, this should be a draw. But as I alluded to earlier, making it actually happen is some pretty tricky stuff. Okay, white's just given up a pawn and said, yep, come at me, you can have this guy here on g2. Didn't like it that much anyway. It was talking smack, and now it's dead. So that's what it gets for talking smack to me. There's a lot of relationships between these pieces. It gets pretty complicated. There, pawn f4, king to b8, pawn this way here, and now we have arrived in a database like position right here. So when there's only 7 pieces or less, any possible position has been worked out by computer algorithms. So it knows that this is indeed a draw. But that's pretty difficult stuff to come up with. Rook to b1, and so again, black is trying to hold a draw here against Firouzja, and he makes this move, which is a huge mistake. The way he should have gone about it was this move, with the idea being that after rook takes, you get some counterplay with having this queen. And this is really tricky stuff because you got to realize that white is actually going to be up a rook here, but with the queen, black's able to create some counterplay via a perpetual check. And this stuff is just unbelievably difficult. Like, this is the kind of thing that's perfect for a computer and extremely difficult for a human player to see this. I mean, to figure out that the queen and rook are not going to be able to prevent these indefinite checks. Not an easy call to make. Not an easy call to make, even for a super GM. So he misses it. He promotes the pawn right away, and then after right here, he's hoping to maybe keep white from pushing this pawn, since the king cannot really so easily come out. And then if he can't come out, then he has no space to move this pawn, right? So he goes this way, and this way, rook to c7, and now white's building a bridge. This position is pretty much just totally hopeless here for black. After building the bridge and kind of creating some protection from this rook check, now he's getting ready to move this guy. And then, you could say, well, all right, if he pushes this, then, like this right here, now it's a draw, actually. Because after takes and then takes here, black now actually has a pass pawn of his own, for which white will have to jettison their rook, and then it's a draw. However, white has this terrific move, rook to a6. So saying, yep, you can have this check now, but it's not going to last for long. And then I'm going to promote this pawn, and you don't get to sack it for your rook. Here, check, king c7, and black resigns. Why? Why doesn't he just continue with these checks? Well, if he does this, then we're going to walk on over this way. And then we're actually going to ironically use the king as a source of possible shelter with a move like, I don't know, this right here. We can also go this way and kind of charge the rook. I think we can also go this way, but we'll do it this way because it technically looks like it's faster. Here check, king b4 with two threats. This is two. This is one more than two. This is the right number. You go this way, now you're attacking the rook, and you're also getting ready for pawn to a8. So, black's only got one turn to move. You can't really do both of those things, and so here the perpetual check would fail. So, in lieu of that, black would, sensibly resign there, and he anticipated this, and that's why he actually resigned a bit earlier on this turn. Alrighty. That is going to do it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I know I certainly did. It's really interesting to see all these examples and kind of just build my internal database of patterns and whatnot. Plus, I mean, I review my own games and I'm always feeling guilty and crummy about it. I suck. Why did I think I'm even remotely good? Because the computer will shred you. It's brutally logical and honest. And, it's nice to see okay, I'm not the only one. It's also the case that these super GMs mess up. So anyway, hope you find that interesting. I will be making plenty more of these. Go ahead and click on one of these links around me. Watch some more, like and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Ciao.